Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the show. This is the Pros and Cons channel. My name is Chris. I'm the host. I call this show the Weekly Spinnerack. It is a weekly live show where I'm going to review this week's comics. I've got some of those right here. I'm going to draw something. It's a secret. And, I'm going to go through a bunch of news, comic book news of the week that I've got for you, as well as a few other things. It's going to be a great one. It's really cool. We've got lots of good news. I've got a few extra tidbits about my life to throw in. Thank you all for being here. Let's see what we've got here in the chat room. Hello to Jim Mahfood. Hello, Dave Wright, Cheesier, Philip Arsenault, Mr. Sam Hawkins, Michael Cortez. Just going to keep listing these names as quickly as I can. I see Philip Johnson, Jameel Frost, Rostown, Johnny Slider, Keith Rotenberg, Matt Edwards. Hello also, Majesty Von Doom, T-Rex, Daniel Carhoonan, Andrew Jefferson. I see Fernando Molinero Zelaya. That's kind of fun to say. Hello to Tit Goblin and Joe Dent and Thomas Wolfenberger and James Stewart and Kevin Maley. I haven't seen you in a while, Kevin. Hello, Drew Canoli, Void Coupon, Senor Patata, Jerf E, Riv Wilson, JP Fawn, Silent Gamer, Jorge Alvarez. Folks, I gotta get going with the show. This isn't, what was that show called? There was a show, a child show. None of you will remember this. This is just showing my age. There was a show where, like, this lady would, like, read books and stuff to, like, her class, and at the end she'd pick up her magic mirror and, like, look at the camera, and she'd say, like, a list of, like, generic names as though she was saying hello to all of us. I don't remember what that show is called. Anyway. Happy, what's today again? Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to my fellow people out there that don't get a day off on holidays like this. Thank you to all the people out there working in essential services, from, you know, hospitals to grocery stores, people that work at, like, water treatment plants and gas stations. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for what you do to keep the world running. Doesn't seem like much of a holiday these days. We don't really do a whole lot for it, other than that it's supposedly a holiday. We get some holiday pay. Let's see. Tell you what. Before I get into the reviews and the news, I'll tell you a few things that I've got going on back here. First, I'll just do a quick mention that I've got a P.O. box. So, if you want to send your comic or a comic you think that I should be, like, reviewing, you've got a place you can do that. I am not asking you to do it because I cannot promise that I will review your book. But if you watch this channel, you may have seen that earlier this week I did an unboxing video of all the cool comics that people sent in. I sincerely appreciate that stuff. So if you want to, there's an address for you. Comic Tropes, P.O. Box 5834. That's in Kent, Washington. Zip code 98064 in the good old US of A. I don't know what I'm doing with that one. Let me switch to something that I want to show you. This is kind of cool. Bear with me. I need to do what? Oh, hold on. Was I already showing it? Can you guys see this picture of me with Spider-Man? Let me see. I don't know if that's going through on the... or do you see this? Let's see. Steve Sorensen with a super chat saying, hit like for our boy Chris and drink water. All right, let's see. I'm trying to mess around with what I'm showing here. And I feel like it's not working properly. Of course. Darn. What if I move the layers and do it like that? What's the weirdest thing I've gotten in the P.O. box? Nothing weird, to be honest. It's all just comics and stuff like that. Huh. Geez, I really thought that I had a way to show a different window here. And it's looking like I'm not getting it to work properly. That's so frustrating. So it's just showing this. Darn. Okay. I'll have to keep messing with that. that stinks. Boy, I was really testing this out earlier. Sorry, everybody. This threw me for a loop. I thought that I had the technical difficulties worked out there so that I could show, something from a different browser window. Well, here, it's not as good, but I'll show you through my phone on this camera since this is what's working. I did something fun this weekend. I shot a cameo in a Spider-Man 4 fan film. So maybe you can see that a little bit. That's me with Spider-Man just hanging out against a blue screen. Here, I'll get a different shot here. So I agreed to do a cameo because these guys are local. There's me and another gentleman as city workers. We're working in a sewer, and something has torn up this junction box. Uh-oh, that's not good. And I don't know what would be lurking in the sewers that would attract Spider-Man's attention, but it might lead to me not looking so good by the end. So anyway, that was really fun to do. I was really impressed with the professionalism and the sets and the costumes that these folks created. And it was a real blast to get to do a little cameo in something like that. Let's see if I can find the name of if you are curious, it's called High Mountain Studios on YouTube. They've got a little teaser trailer for their Spider-Man 4 fan film. And no, it's not Vermin. It's not Vermin. I kept joking that there should be a post-credit sequence where I'm revealed to have survived, and I reveal my real name is Pete. I'm going to get revenge with my sticky formula. But anyway, let's see what we've got going on aside from that. I've got some cool comics projects in the works. I can't go into all the details, but a publisher has reached out to me with the idea of what about turning some of my comic tropes episodes, like the sort of history pieces, into a book about just sort of like digestible bits of comic book history. And I have to admit, I'm not against the idea. So that's a maybe. I won't show this in too much detail, but I've been invited to write a page for a comic, and I have like a script here. Whoop, that's all I'll show there, and I might draw that as well. And then what I'll be working on today, you guys have seen this before if you've turned in. I'm going to work some more on this cover because it's moving forward. This is going to be a cover for a book. So anyway, we'll get to that later. But I've got some interesting projects going on here, so that's kind of exciting. Folks, it was what's called the fifth week. If you've ever heard that term in comics, what that refers to is when there are 5 Wednesdays in a month. There aren't as many comics that come out on the 5th week, because even though these comics are all monthly, they are also sort of based on like a 4-week schedule, more or less. So when there's that 5th week within a certain month, it's almost like a little bit of a breather for some comics, and some comics still get released, but it's not all of them. Anyway, so I only have like 3 comics, and I'm going to go through them kind of quickly. I've got some mini reviews on recommendations. First one here is Amazing Fantasy number 1000. And so anyway, it's the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man. 60 years since Amazing Fantasy number 15 came out. That was the first issue featuring Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. But how did they come up with 1000? I think it's completely arbitrary. I think it's just for fun. I've got an online friend who has done some comic book essays. She's getting like a PhD in some sort of comic book history. Michaela Laird. She's got a good Twitter presence. And, oh yeah, I'm also working on the Fletcher Hanks book. That's right, Andrew Jefferson. That's right. So yeah, working on some cool projects. Michaela added up like all the Spider-Man comics there have been, and there's more than 1,000. And you add up all the Amazing Spider-Man issues, including, annuals and specials and stuff, and there's still too few to get to 1,000. So how Marvel came up with the math for 1,000, that's anybody's guess. I don't think it's based on anything real. It's just saying, like, hey, here's the supposed issue 1,000 of Amazing Fantasy. And what it is, it's a celebration of Spider-Man's history. They've got a real murderer's row of talent lined up. People like artwork here by Michael Cho. We've got Dan Slott wrote a story. Top artists like Jim Cheung, Oliver Coipel, Terry Dodson, Ryan Stegman, Marco Checchetto, Steve McNiven. Writers like Neil Gaiman, as I said before, Dan Slott, Kurt Busiek, Ho-Che Anderson, Rainbow Rowell, Jonathan Hickman, Armando Iannucci. He's written a lot of TV as well. What's that show called? Veep. He did great on that. So what's cool about this is it's telling all sorts of Spider-Man stories. Doesn't explicitly have to be in continuity. You don't need to know anything about where Spider-Man's at these days to enjoy these stories. One is about like how Spider-Man keeps locking up this common criminal every 5 or 6 years when he gets out of jail. And he's like, hey, aren't I like not, important enough? And I mean, it's a nice like reminder that like, a lot of the people in Spider-Man's life that have been hurt or died have been killed by ordinary criminals, not necessarily supervillains. He's like, no, everything matters. You're not just some guy. There's another great one here. This one is by Dan Slott, and it's a Spider-Man story where he's like aged in real time. So he's, or maybe not in real time, but he's at least in his 60s, if not older. And he's supposed to, have lunch, have an anniversary dinner with Mary Jane, but a criminal shoots Spider-Man, and he's in the hospital, and everybody, sort of respects his privacy and comes to thank him and stuff like that. And it's just a sweet story of thinking, like he might get actually like sort of better at this work, but he's never going to stop it. It's just not who Peter Parker is. He's never going to stop. What else was fun? I liked, this was a funny one where like he's got a villain that like, it's almost like the Scarecrow. He puts out like this gas that makes people believe in conspiracies and stuff. That's actually a pretty funny one and of the moment. The artwork here by Oliver Coipel with a story by Rainbow Rowell is great. It focuses a little bit more on Peter Parker, the photographer. That he can just take really nice looking photos, that's a skill that we don't really get to hear about too much. I like that these stories all sort of focus on different elements of who Peter Parker is. This one's sort of a paranoid conspiracy thriller with just somebody that's, got like serious mental illnesses, and just how gentle and caring Spider-Man can be with her. Kurt Busiek has a fantastic story here where it's kind of funny. He goes like that this is a sequel to a story from Amazing Fantasy 15. And you're like, okay, but I've never seen like Spider-Man with an Egyptian enemy here. Like, what's this based on? Like issue 15, it was just his origin, right? With the burglar. Well, Amazing Fantasy 15 was an anthology, and it's like this, like sort of obscure second story that was in there that didn't have anything to do with Spider-Man. Kurt Busiek finds a clever way to tie it into Spider-Man mythology. It's quite nice. And then there's a beautiful story here by Neil Gaiman, which, hold on, skipping ahead to the Neil Gaiman story, where he talks about growing up and reading Spider-Man comics and how much they influenced him to love comic books and superheroes and stuff. And he even tells the true story of the time that he and Jonathan, he's a British host of talk shows. I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, he and his friend Jonathan went and met Steve Ditko in person. They were doing a documentary, which I think you can find on YouTube, tracking down Steve Ditko, who, was a bit of a recluse. And he wouldn't let himself get filmed on camera, but they did actually get to meet him, and they met him and talk about it. But this just sort of talks about it behind the scenes, like what that was like. Anyway. Have you bought the Detective Comics number 27 facsimile? No, didn't get that, but if it's a good price, I might get it. Anyway, I really did like this anthology. You know, it was just a nice reminder of all the different ways Spider-Man and Peter Parker can work without getting bogged down with any weird continuity. So I had a good time with this issue. That said, how much was it? $8. It's not cheap, but then again, this is much bigger than a typical comics, which is still $5. So it's probably like a decent value as far as comic books go these days. I do recommend it. Only 2 other books to read. This is the 3rd issue of a story in House of Slaughter. This is issue 8, but it's like sort of an anthology series. So this is part 3 of a story where one of the monster hunters from the House of Slaughter is being sent to investigate whether there are actual monsters at a boys' summer camp. And he's being sent because this guy's autistic and he just sees everything very literally. So he's going to report the truth, whether there's actually a monster or not, and he's not going to influence anything. That's why he's been sent. And so it's a really interesting look at a character that you don't typically get to see. You know, he doesn't understand human emotions that great, but he does have a very logical mind, and he's trying to figure out what kind of a monster there might be there. There might be a dragon, for instance, or it might feed on a very specific kind of fear. We're going to see. It's good. It's good. If you haven't read it before, like either Something is Killing the Children or House of Slaughter, it's not a bad story to get into. You could start with issue 6 of House of Slaughter. You could read issues 6, 7, 8 and sort of get an idea of that world. But it's definitely more rewarding if you already know it. Last thing I'll go through real quick. Oh, Jonathan Ross. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, Jonathan Ross. Yeah, exactly, Andrew Jefferson. Exactly. $8, but no, that's true. No foil or embossed cover. Just a comic. And I'm reading G.I. Joe. Always read G.I. Joe because I love writer Larry Hama. I've been reading this comic since I got into comics. And issue 300 is going to be the final issue in this series because IDW is losing the Transformers and G.I. Joe license at the end of this year. They still have not announced who's taking over. I looked real hard. Still no, good rumors about like who is taking over that license. Somebody has, but Hasbro has not announced it yet. I do know which guy at Hasbro would know, and I'm thinking of like reaching out to him. So we'll see. In your mind, what is the best independent horror title? Harrow County. Harrow County is good, Uros. But you know what I think is... it's not independent. I was about to say The Nice House on the Lake is very good, but that's actually published through DC. So, actually, I'd probably go with Something is Killing the Children these days. That's probably my personal choice. I read some of Department of Truth. It's interesting. Yep, it's very interesting. Anyway, so... this book is just building up to a big finale. If you know G.I. Joe, there's this mad scientist guy, Dr. Mindbender, and he's decided to create a new version of Serpentor, who was sort of like this DNA creation of like history's greatest leaders. But he would lead Cobra. Anyway, he's made a new and improved version that's mostly Genghis Khan with a better body, but he's very independent, so who knows if it'll work very well. Anyway, meanwhile, G.I. Joe is infiltrating Cobra Island, where they've launched a casino for the world, and it's just tons of firefights and ninja work, all combined with an attack against this new Cobra leader. These 2 pages are great. These 2 pages are by Netho Diaz. I like this action very much. The other pages are by a guy I like, but I don't really like this work. It's by a guy named Andrew Lee Griffith. He draws great Transformers. I just don't love how he does people. It just sort of seems like the proportions are sort of off a little bit, or that it's lacking detail where you need some. It's readable. It's not And I picked up only one back issue this time, because this one was a little more expensive than some others. It was just a cool issue of Tales to Astonish. Submariner and Incredible Hulk. Really, really good quality copy of issue 96. This was a cool book. The Namor story is drawn by its creator, and I'm all of a sudden blanking on his name. He also drew the first Daredevil. I'll look it up. I'm blanking. Yeah, Dean, I'll explain why I've got two channels in just a minute. That's a good question. I'm happy to explain that. Who created Namor? Bill Everett. So this issue is drawn by Bill Everett, or the Submariner one is, and the Incredible Hulk is by Marie Severin, who I think she did a great job on a lot of Hulk stories. Anyway, just a fun back issue. Bill Everett, everybody knew there. Thanks, guys. Kevin Melee and Connor and Jorge Alvarez jumping in real quick, talking about Bill Everett. A bit late. You're barely late, MF. There weren't many comics to review this week. I want to do something fun, but first I want to answer Dean's question of why have I split this into two channels? In some ways, I'd love to be able to do it all on my main or my first channel, Comic Tropes. But there is a thing called the algorithm, and what that means is how much people engage in content, and there are specific things that I mean there, but like how much they engage in the content reflects how likely the YouTube site is to recommend your videos to new viewers, which is the only way you can sort of grow, because there's always a little bit of attrition, people like leaving or not watching regularly, so you have to sort of keep getting new viewers to actually grow. You have to. If I do a live stream like this one, I'm very happy with how many viewers we have in here. Like this means a lot to me. But it does not get anywhere close to the amount of views that an edited Comic Tropes episode does. So when I would do live streams on Comic Tropes, what that did was then YouTube stopped pushing my fully edited videos to as many new people. I saw the numbers start to decline when I did live streams at a certain point. And that got really frustrating. So I love doing these live streams. I love chatting with all of you guys about comics and sort of just doing a live show where I get to draw and just like talk lightly, like just riff on the news, fun stuff like that. But that's why, basically, is if I do live streams on Comic Tropes, it kills the numbers for other videos that come after it for a while. Some super chats there. Andrew Jefferson says, try Ant-Man Mini. This one was a Kirkman throwback. Oh, that's the new Ant-Man book. They used the character that the Kirkman created. What was his name? Yeah, I read that book. He's sort of like a jerk. I don't know how he made it into S.H.I.E.L.D., but, you know, he's out for himself. Yeah. John Dorsey says, positive COVID test won't keep me from enjoying this week's stream. All hail Tropes Nation. Must-see TV. Tube vital for a Monday. Sorry to hear you're positive there, John. I really hope you can get through it quickly. I hate subscribing and getting a bunch of live and shorts notifications, so I agree with the split. Yeah, it's the only real way I can do it without sort of like killing my other channel, and I like doing this, so I want to. And this is growing. This is growing really well. I would love to continue to sort of invest resources in both shows. One thing I've been looking into, and it's really tough, but I'd love to find myself some sort of like warehouse space where I could set up a little bit better both my Comic Tropes area and my live streaming area, like actually have a desk and like set it up so that I could have like, you know, a guest come in potentially, sit on a couch next to me. I can just like lock some cameras into place, lock some lights into place, and just have it all set up. I'd really love to do something like that, but I need to find the space first. Is this your sketch for Monkey Man and O'Brien? No. This is for Vampirella, and it's clearly, if it's not clear, I hope it's clear, an homage to the George Perez cover for Crisis on Infinite Earths number, might be 7, I'm guessing on that one, but the one where Superman is holding Supergirl, which itself was actually a loose homage to an earlier issue of Superman. And then I've also like taken some inspiration from how John Byrne laid out his homage to this cover in Uncanny X-Men. I've got some really cool comic book news, but you know what I also have? I'm going to do an opening of something cool that I came across in the store just a little while ago, this afternoon. These are called micro figures, the world's smallest figures. And you could get like either He-Man, Transformers, Mego, Horror, G.I. Joe, Rick and Morty, or Big Lebowski. And so I've got a few of these. Let me open it, and we'll just see Monkey Man and Vampirella. More just that, like, Dynamite was getting the license. They have now got the license for King Kong. And the scale isn't right, but, you know, it's just a huge gorilla holding Vampirella. And I thought I'd just put in some people in the background today. Let's see what I got, though, here. I'm going to share this with you. Is your screen freezing badly? Not on me. No, Kevin, it's not for Incendium Comics. It's for Dynamite. Let's see. I'm just checking my stats and everything. On my end, everything seems to be running just fine. So I'm not sure. All right, let's see what kind of a micro figure I got. I like opening blind bags. I don't know about you guys. It's probably not something to get into because it's dangerous, you know? You're going to buy too many if you get into it. But let's see what I got. The Gachapons are back. Sort of. Gachapon for me. Oh, cool. Looks like I got Morty from Rick and Morty. He's holding like some sort of a laser gun. He's got really buggy eyes. Oh, cool. And I guess you can open the back here to get at it if I really want to. But I think I'll just leave it in the case there. That's fun. So that it's okay now. Sebastian says he also had some choppy video. Choppy video passed. You know what? Here's my best guess for that, folks. It's a little rainy out there. I guess that could theoretically be affecting my stream quality in terms of my internet connection, unfortunately. So I'm sorry about that. I'll just go through opening some sort of fun, vaguely comic book related toys for a moment, and hopefully it improves, and then I'll get into drawing and talking about the news. I was freezing for a while. Skeletor says that I should get Skeletor. We'll see. Maybe. My wife and I were doing some chores at Target, and I saw these, and I was just like, all right, I'm a sucker for this stuff. I'm going to get some. Get out. Oh, very cool. This is Egyptian mummy. I like that. I don't know how well you guys can see these. But we've got like Morty and an Egyptian mummy so far. So that's good. Got 2 more. Very cool artwork I'm drawing right now too. That's great, Junkachino. So cool. Mighty Max is smaller than... I don't know what Mighty Max is. Excess packaging on that gimmick. Man, you're not kidding. This is way too much packaging. I don't love that. I don't love that at all. So I probably won't get these anymore, actually, because of that, to be honest. But since I've got it, and I was like, it was an impulse item. I don't know if you guys ever fall for impulse items. I guess I do. Come on, pop. Almost like a Gachapon, except Gachapons are easier to open. And you can recycle them. Alright, let's get something new. Oh, that is one of the ones I wanted. Mr. Poopy Butthole from Rick and Morty. One of my favorite. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. How you doing? I'm Mr. Poopy Butthole. That sounded more like my Robert Kirkman impression than Mr. Poopy Butthole, but that's okay. I think Rick and Morty came back last night, but I don't have cable, so I'll end up having to catch it once the season ends and they move it to HBO Max. If HBO Max keeps it, obviously this new ownership is just gutting HBO Max. But for now, they're showing at least the HBO shows. I've been enjoying House of Dragon a little bit more as it's gone on. Episode 3 was pretty strong. I've only watched one of the 2 episodes of Lord of the Rings. For Lord of the Rings, I thought it was pretty. I thought the music was great. I like the characters they've introduced, but I do think the pacing is very slow. I'm sorry to be shallow, but I need some more action in my fantasy, you know? Hello, Axel. Alright, let's see. One last one. I don't know He-Man very well. This is Teela. Teela. I think it's a... Yeah, that's a lady. I don't know her very well. Sorry, I don't know that one very well. But I'm very happy to get Mr. Poopy Butthole, Morty, and a mummy. 3 points of articulation, it says. I'll take it. I'll take it. So anyway, yeah. Micro figures. Sort of like getting Gachapon, but just for me. I haven't watched Rick and Morty in ages. I love Rick and Morty, but I'm biased. I've always loved Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland for ages. When Justin Roiland had his podcast before he did Rick and Morty, or right as he was starting, I used to draw the artwork for several of those episodes. Maybe 4 or 5. Anyway. Alright. I'm going to draw a little bit while also talking to you about some news of the week. Let's start with some happy news. I think that this is happy news. The Creative Emmys the Creative Arts Emmys were this past Saturday. And, yeah, I thought that it was kind of sweet here. For Best Voice Actor, Chadwick Boseman ended up winning, posthumously, obviously. He played Black Panther one last time in a What If episode. That was specifically, like, the premise was, what if Star-Lord was T'Challa? What if T'Challa became Star-Lord instead of Peter Quill? And I thought that was actually one of the better episodes this season. That was a good use of the what if premise, and he did a good job. You could tell that he really commit to it. That he wasn't just sort of phoning it in for like a job. It was also up against some tough competition. F. Murray Abraham was up for doing the voice of Khonshu from Moon Knight, which I think a lot of us enjoyed. Jessica Walters, another posthumous Emmy nomination for her work as Mallory on Archer. Who else? Julie Andrews for that show Bridgerton. So there were some good nominations for voiceover work. I want to say maybe Maya Rudolph for Big Mouth. I don't have them all in front of me. But it was actually a pretty good list of nominees. And it was just nice to see that Chadwick won. His widow accepted the award on his behalf. That's Taylor Simone Ledward. So, yeah, just kind of I thought that was a relatively happy thing to report on for the first piece of news I had this week. Wakanda Forever. Do you plan on keeping the piece in black and white? Well, Bruce, I'll have to talk a little bit with Nick and the folks at Dynamite to see what their opinions are on, like, whether this should be kept black and white or if it should be colored. I was obviously creating it as a black and white piece initially, but we'll see. Happy news, I found a comic shop not too far away that has some late 80s beginnings comics I want to get into. Oh, cool. That sounds great. We've got a lot of news tonight, so that's just one piece. The new Rick and Morty episode is on the Adult Swim website. Oh, I'll have to take a look. Let me test something. When I went to... Oh, this sounds awful. This is like nails on a chalkboard. But when I went to the Emerald City Comic-Con a couple weeks ago, I talked with Daniel Warren Johnson about how to create highlights with Zipatone, and he said literally just take a very sharp X-Acto knife and scrape some of it away, and he showed me how to do it, and I like the look, so I'm doing a little of that. I agree, it looks... It's probably very subtle and hard to notice on screen, but yeah, this does look nice. I'm gonna work on this for a minute, like just give this a few highlights. Let me think. Okay. It does feel sort of like nails on a chalkboard, though. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm glad gorillas still sell comics. Well, that's my rationale, is I'm going to cover this with, like, you know, I'm trying to, like, put in cliches or tropes, you know? Gorillas, death of a main character, sex sells, baby, things like that. Tips and tricks from Master Daniel Warren Johnson. Was that before or after you got locked in the stairwell? That was after. Yeah, got myself locked in a stairwell for a while at the comic convention. There's another local comic convention this coming weekend down in Portland, which is about maybe 2.5 hour drive for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to go or not. You know what? It'll depend on how far along I am with the Comic Tropes episode for the week. If I get ahead, I might go. If I don't, then I won't. Tough decision. Oh, that's better. If I need to use more of the edge here. That's cool. Sorry, I'm experimenting with something and I like it. Let's go on to another piece of news, though. You guys are here for a show, not for me just futzing around doing nothing. Probably getting mad and taking away super chats, right? There was a Variety report. Variety, if you don't know, probably most people do, but it's an industry publication on the film industry, okay? And it's kind of like that and the Hollywood Reporter, I would argue, are like the sort of two main trade publications. So pretty reputable sources. And they had a report by reporters Adam Very and Brent Lang that analyzed the current status of the DC movie universe. They had an interesting quote here I want to read to you guys. This is an actual quote from their article. It said, "Privately, studio insiders have lamented that Zack Snyder's Justice League never should have happened. Rather than quiet the unceasing online campaigning to release the Snyder Cut, the 4-hour HBO Max feature only further entrenched the vocal and extremely online Snyderverse fanbase in opposition to the leadership at the studio in general and at DC in particular." So, that's coming from a report at Variety. Apparently, it did not... Yeah, they're saying that the studio insiders regret doing the Snyder Cut. It's too bad, because honestly, I thought the Snyder Cut was interesting. I thought it was a better version of Justice League, but it also confused the situation, like, for the public. You know, like, what is the actual, what do you call it? Like, you know, what's the real continuity here? Like, what am I supposed to be following? It did make a bit of a dog's meal out of everything. So, might not have been the best decision, but that's all retrospect. But yeah, like, supposedly insiders are regretting that, which I thought was pretty interesting. Reboot. I kind of agree with you, ultimate Joshy washiness. Every time I see you draw and the techniques you used, I'm always amazed at how artists are able to draw an entire comic so fast. I know, I'm so slow. Throw in a disembodied uniform playing baseball, and Julie Schwartz could use that cover for Strange Adventures. A disembodied uniform playing baseball? Sure, I can try to do that. I'm having trouble, like, getting that, like, scratching thing to look good. I'll have to touch it up in Photoshop instead. But I was just trying something new. Yeah, I'll, this one can be a baseball jersey with a baseball bat, but nobody in it. Does that make sense? Anybody else have to work today, by the way? Not a dove's. I said a dog's breakfast. Means a mess. Yet they were not worried when they fixed Sonic in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie when fans insisted. I think those are two very different stories, though. Like, you know, the Sonic movie hadn't come out yet, and they were like, oh, this looks terrible. Let's do it properly. Good thing that they fixed that one. Snyder Cut fans still... No, Snyder Cut fans just wanted a film that was never released. Still waiting on the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. Give them a little fez hat. Gonna have to leave early. See you later, Tropes Nation. Alright, Cheesier. Well, you will be missed, but thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Who would you say is the best known or most famous gorilla-based super today? Probably Gorilla Grodd, I would think. Unless I'm forgetting somebody, I would think Gorilla Grodd. I think that they released it, Junkaccino, because there wasn't much else going on during the pandemic. So it was like, you know, content. I don't think it was necessarily a bad idea, but it sounds like it is one that they regret. And I do get that, though. Because it didn't, like, placate anybody. It just made them more emboldened and angry. What can you do? Let's see. I've got more news, though. Yeah, I did read that article, Jojo. You're right. Let's see. Jim Mahfood says, I'm working right now on some comic pages, inking time. That's awesome, Jim. Are you just doing like regular like inking with like brushes or stuff? Are you using some special tools today? You know, obviously you do a lot of mixed media stuff, so always kind of curious what you're up to with that. Thanks for sharing. We're lucky to have you here. Let's see. Angel and Ape should have a comeback. Oh yeah, Angel and Ape was fun. I remember Kong Gorilla. Yep. Marvel has Gorilla Man. Did you ever see Top Gun Maverick? Absolutely, I saw it. I thought that was actually a really good movie. That was really strong. Yep. What else should I put in here for characters and people and stuff like that? Anybody specific you should think that I should try to add? They're all going to be like drawn really tiny, so like, you know, the amount of detail I can get in there is questionable. But still willing to give it a shot if there's a good idea. Does Giganta count as a gorilla? I think that, like, pre-crisis Giganta counts as a gorilla, but not current Giganta. Who owns the Grape Ape IP? Probably Hanna-Barbera, right? Probably. I'm looking something up for what I'm drawing. Dynamite Thor, Animal Man, Rocketeer, Hellboy, Atomic Robo, Rocketeer. Well, I can't use anything that, like, is owned by somebody else. But Dynamite Thor is a fun idea, maybe. Nostalgia Critic? I don't think I'd know off the top of my head exactly what he looks like. I sort of know who that is. He makes fun of movies, right? But I don't think... off the top of my head, I'd know what he looks like. I think he wears glasses, but does he wear a hat or not? I don't know. The Phantom, He-Man, Jesus, Kongorilla, and the Rainbow Batman. Yes, Stardust. What Dynamite characters could you sneak in? You know, I probably should have asked, because I don't know. That is a good question. There might be licensing rights tied up to some of it, so I think I'll just put in a bunch of weirdos. But I might put in some of those, like, public domain things. We'll see. Red Sonja and Deja Thoris. Yeah. Have you ever drawn Tom Strong? No, I haven't. Warner Brothers owns the Hanna-Barbera's characters. 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven I could do. Because you know what? I think that, like, I want to say somebody did do, like, a more recent Dynamite Thor reboot or something, so I don't want to even get involved in that, like, if they've got something going on. Like, I don't want it to, like, imply that I'm, like, endorsing that or anything weird like that. Like, or that, you know, another publisher is, so. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. But I will put in Infotron since I own him, and I have no problem drawing him, and plus he's so generic anyway. The Wall, Kite Man, Dog Welder, and Armless Tiger Man. What's your take on Monsieur Mala? I think that Grant Morrison turned Monsieur Mala into a very interesting, dynamic character. Alright, let's move on to more news. This one's in... I tried to make a joke of it in, like, my thumbnail. But not everybody's going to know what I'm referring to. So, there was just a weird social media post this week. I'll try to explain it, and I think it makes sense once you understand the whole story. But it was still a little weird. Mike Deodato Jr., he's a pretty... yeah, I guess he's popular. He's definitely well known as an artist. He's been working for a long time for Marvel and DC, right? Yeah, the Red Letter Media guys? Maybe. So Mike Deodato Jr. posted to Instagram a critique of Namor's physique. And he did it by also showing, like, he showed the back of actor Tenoch Huerta, who's playing Namor in the upcoming Wakanda Forever, Black Panther movie 2. And he also posted himself naked from the back. He did use text to cover up his butt, but he's naked. And it says, like, when you at 60 look better than the character that you draw, or something like that. And yeah, like, oh, here's what he posted. Here's what he posted exactly. I've got a quote. You can tell somebody screwed things up when a character from a movie looks in worse shape than the 60-year-old artist who drew him. So he quickly deleted that because it didn't go over very well. Let me jump ahead to explain like some more context here for the guy. He then posted the next day on Twitter explaining that it was meant to be a joke. It was meant to be a joke. And he said that he took it down because of all the haters on the internet that got angry. I guess I understand that. The part I was confused about was he said that he was making fun of the fictional character, not the actor. And it's like, well, you're showing a picture of the actor and saying that he's not in good... You're implying that he's not in good shape anyway if you're not outright saying it. And I don't know about you guys, but I looked up some pictures and I feel like Tenoch Huerta is in excellent shape for Namor. So I don't quite get what he was going after, to be honest. To me, it sounds more like, like you're not attacking a fictional character there. If you had a drawing of Namor that you didn't think looked muscular enough, that's one thing. But you are going after an actor there. It's a little weird. Forrest J. Ackerman, that's fish shaming, yeah. Recast Namor with a nude Mike Deodato. I just felt like it was a bizarre move to like post that picture more than the joke I sort of get. I don't think it's a great joke, but I think that like people should have a degree of like being protected from getting criticized too harshly when they are intentionally making a joke. Not every joke is going to hit. He's not exactly punching down. It's I don't think it's a good joke, but I don't think he should be like totally attacked for that joke. It's not a big deal in my opinion. I'm sure that the actor playing Namor can take it because I think he is in good shape. But it was just a bizarre move. The most bizarre part though was like posting his naked back. That part I didn't get at all. He's got a cushy job with AWA currently, says Rick Ray. I doubt he'll work on Marvel. I don't think Marvel would hold it that much against him, to be honest. Drew Canoli says, sounds like a lowball joke that went over really bad. Yeah, and Joe Dent says, jokes need to be funny. I sort of, exactly. Hey, Tari, I feel like there was no joke there. Exactly. He's like, I look at the guy playing Namor, and I don't think he looks bad. I don't think he looks like he's out of shape or anything. I've seen bodybuilders and pro wrestlers that can sometimes have less body fat on their back when they're like, showing off their muscles. But at the same time, we are talking about a fictional character that literally lives underwater. I mean, there'd be no way for you not to be completely hydrated if you were that kind of a character. And that means you're going to probably have some sort of level of body fat on you, no matter how muscular you are. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you'd be ripped, like shredded, like totally cut if you lived underwater and you were totally hydrated. I don't know. It was a weird move anyway. I was just curious what other people thought. I don't know who the actor is, but from what I've seen, he looks like a screen-worthy Namor. I think he looks really cool. Maybe I'm in the minority there, but I thought that the guy playing Namor looked cool. I like Namor quite a bit because Namor has an edge. Namor has an attitude, and I've always kind of appreciated that kind of character in the Marvel universe. The sea is cold. I left more at people saying Michael Phelps should play Namor. There was an article a few years back about superhero actors using steroids to achieve those bodies for certain movies. I guess I wouldn't be that surprised, but I think a lot of them are also, like, it's not hard if you've got a personal trainer and a personal chef to get yourself in great shape. And that's what Marvel can afford to do, is like, hire the best for these guys to work out, and more power to them. Anyway, just sort of weird. Look at a male swimmer's body. They are not jacked up. Yeah, at the same time, Namor should probably be bigger than typical swimmer because he is supposed to be, like, you know, a mutant with, like, an incredible amount of super strength. You know, he can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. He's strong. Would you need to work out if you had super strength? I don't know, Andrew. I think it depends on, like, how you define that character is getting their super strength, because maybe you can increase it, but, like, the Hulk shouldn't need to work out. But I always appreciated that, like, in the Dan Slott She-Hulk run, it was explained that the Hulk's power can be proportionate, like, as a base. It can be proportionate to how strong the person is. So Jen Walters, as Jen Walters, worked out like crazy at one point, and then she became exponentially stronger as She-Hulk. I thought that was actually a pretty cool little story. Like, she had to put in this work to, like, overcome somebody. Let's see. I just finished watching your previous video on gorillas in DC Comics, and Marvel failed. Power Pack, good stuff. You know your comics. I hope so. Namor needs fish scale Speedos, not bicyclist shorts. You know, I do like that look. They're probably just trying to avoid everything that Aquaman has done, because there's so much similar about Aquaman and Namor that you really need to, on film, emphasize differences. But I like Namor. He's an old character. Let's see. There's more news. Here's a good piece of news. Last week on this show, we were talking about the DC Heritage, Hispanic Heritage Month covers, and how a bunch of them were all just like people eating food. It had like reduced all the culture to food, and that the best idea of them was Jorge Molina's cover, which was an homage to La Patria, that DC then had edited to just Kyle Rayner holding a bag of tamales in space. That was probably like the worst offender. But I think in large part because of like the feedback online, I'm not going to take credit, but like maybe you guys should. DC did reverse their decision on at least that cover. And so that means at least that cover by Jorge Molina, I think, is a great heritage cover, because now it explicitly is an homage to a famous Mexican painting. It's got a character with Mexican heritage holding a Mexican flag, with the background being a direct homage. I think it's a much superior cover. So I thought that was just a nice piece of news, that DC reversed their decision on that one. Water. I need more ideas on exactly who I'm drawing here. I'm looking up... There's a spin-off character, I think, from Vampirella called Draculina. So I was looking up what she is. Okay, yeah. So she has more like blonde hair. I'll put her in here. And she sort of has basically the same sort of costume. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea. I'm complimenting myself. Bear with me. Whoa, sorry, super chat here. I don't want to miss that. Bear with me. Let me scroll up. I'm sorry that I missed this. Benjamin Loudley, thank you, first of all. Maybe he was expecting the body of an Olympic swimmer. Doesn't help that Jason Momoa's Aquaman has had a lot of screen time beforehand to compare to. Sure, I can understand that. Jason Momoa would have also been a good Namor, probably. Well, he probably wouldn't have wanted to chop off his long hair, huh? And I think that Namor does look pretty cool with like his closely cropped hair stuff. I don't know. Namor with a beard would be cool, though. Let's see. Sent you some comics, Chris. hope they got to you by now. Solstice, did you watch my unboxing video? I believe I did open them in the video that I uploaded earlier this week on this channel. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to even more news. I've got lots of news. Let's talk about wild stuff. Hold on, am I frozen? I can't tell if I'm frozen or not. Am I choppy, folks? It feels like on my end it looks like that my what do you call it? Yeah, it looks like my bandwidth is kind of slow over here. That's frustrating. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I guess you might be dealing with some buffering right now. That makes for a poor show. All right. Well, I'll just do the best I can, because I don't know what else I can do to, like, you know, fix things. D23 is coming up. I think that Disney only hosts that once every 2 years. I don't know if maybe somebody in the chat can confirm if I've got that right. But D23 is the Disney Expo. They have all sorts of news about, you know, Disney movies, Star Wars, Marvel, all that stuff that they own. Okay? Freezing a lot. Damn. I don't know what to do. Video got choppy again. I'm frozen, huh? Is there anything I can do? Let me look real quick at, like, some of the controls that I have here to see if there's anything I can do to improve the buffering. Yikes. Yikes. I'm making a few edits here. You can hear me fine. Don't worry about it too much. We can hear you. That's nice. That's nice. Let's see. Mian with a super chat saying, "That's the problem with you, Namor. You're just too noble to cheat." That's said by Aquaman after comically dropping a whale on Namor in Marvel vs. DC. Namor is... Yeah, would he be too noble to cheat? Maybe he would be. Maybe he would be, actually. Is the freezing because it's raining where Chris is? We might need to just deal with it today. Yeah, maybe I just have to chalk this up to this being, like, not one of my best episodes. That's frustrating. I wanted to give you guys the best show that I can. Hold on, I'm editing a few things in my settings, but it's not letting me change too many things now that I'm going. You froze on my end, but I'm a little behind at the moment. It's working better now. You're okay at this moment. I think it's going to be choppy off and on, folks, just to be clear. I don't think that there's a whole lot that I can do about it. I think, unfortunately, and this is also part of why I like that idea of getting, like, a warehouse space where I could just pay for a dedicated, like, you know, fastest internet connection possible, and it would only be used here. You know, there's a chance that my wife might be doing a few things online as well, and that might be affecting the bandwidth. There's not much I can do about it. Choppy again. Yeah, it's going to just keep going back and forth. Tell you what, I'll peck away a little at this drawing, but mostly I think I'm just going to talk about the news, and maybe this will end a little earlier than normal just because it's not going well. I don't know, unless it improves. If it improves, then it improves. In our old days, we used to yell at our moms to get off the phone just to get our internet back. Yup. I can still remember the sound of that AOL dial-up. Terrible. All right, so anyway, I started talking about D23. That is Disney's Expo. That means that when I have this show next week, I'm going to have some big Marvel news. There's just no question about it. I will have some Marvel news because they are saving some reveals for that, and that's always fun. We'll see what kind of stuff we get out of it. For now, we have rumors. Let me look at some of these. This all comes from a broadcaster named Emmett Kennedy. So as to how reliable he is, who knows? He's a broadcaster, okay? And he tweeted this. He tweeted that he has reliably heard about some of the big names that are expected to show up at the D23 convention this week at Kevin Feige's panel announcing future Marvel stuff. Here are some of the actors that are supposedly going to be there. John Boyega, I could believe that one. Henry Cavill. If so, that would be a bit of a hit to Warner Brothers. But, you know, if they're not locking him up for Superman, yeah, Marvel should grab him. Jodie Comer, sure, she's an up-and-coming actress. I could see that. Daisy Edgar Jones, not super familiar with who that is. John Krasinski, is that fan speculation because of his role in Doctor Strange 2, or is that real? We'll see. Giancarlo Esposito, again, is that a rumor because fans like the idea of him as Professor X, or could that be real? I don't know. And finally, Denzel Washington. I could actually see that a little bit because Marvel does sort of grab like a mix of up-and-coming talent that they'll like sort of lock in as the superheroes for, you know, several pictures, and they'll grab some established big-name people that will sort of appear as, say, like a villain or a mentor role for like more like one movie. So we'll see, but supposedly D23 is going to have all of those actors appear on Kevin Feige's panel. Hey, if it happens, I agree that would be cool. I'm not getting my hopes all the way up on that one. I think that sounds like a lot, but you never know. Or maybe you do. Do any of you know? Smoother? Good. Will Cavill have the mustache, though? Hey, he looks good with a mustache. I think, look, obviously I'm biased these days, right? But I think that mustaches are making a big comeback lately. I think that you're seeing a lot more people with mustaches. I think that mustaches are in. Marvel should also grab Leslie Jones and Brendan Fraser. Yeah, did you hear that nice news? Like, Brendan Fraser is in a serious drama called The Whale. And they played it at like a film festival, and he got up to, you know, politely leave when it was over. And the audience like was clapping and applauding him so much that, you know, like he sort of was like obligated to sort of stay and bow and thank them, and it brought him to tears. It was really nice. So all the rumors are he gives like, you know, a career-worthy performance in this movie The Whale about a guy who gets up to 600 pounds. He put on a lot of weight, but he's going to be in like, you know, I think a large man suit for even more of it. We'll see. There was a rumor Esposito would be the new Professor X. Exactly. So I sort of wonder about this rumor. I feel like it's sort of like it could be a real rumor, or it could all be sort of fan speculation feeding into these rumors. You know, but sometimes the fan rumors end up becoming real things, because like they did get John Krasinski to play Reed Richards for Doctor Strange 2. Squadron Supreme film. Yeah, what if all those actors I mentioned are just for Squadron Supreme? Who knows? Cavill could keep the stash and play Omni-Man. He's probably too young for Omni-Man. I think you need somebody a little older. Chris has the mustache of dreams. I've been growing it out big. John Hamm is likely waiting to see if Fletch becomes his franchise. I love John Hamm. I'm serious. I think that guy... I think Fletch sounds on paper, I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds on paper like a damn good idea, because I've seen John Hamm do improv with people. He's a funny, funny guy. And him doing comedy sounds like a great idea. It's too bad John Hamm is at the age he is, because he still looks incredible, but you know that if they signed him to play, you know, a Batman or some sort of main superhero, I can't see him doing like, you know, 4 films. Like he's getting older. So we'll see. We'll see. I wish Cavill is cast in a role that isn't a Superman pastiche. You know what I think like would not be a Superman pastiche, but would be good, is honestly like Captain Britain. That is not Superman. Captain Britain has a very interesting backstory and history, and that would be an interesting character to introduce to the Marvel Universe. I think that Captain Britain is pretty cool, and that would be a cool role for him. But maybe I'm thinking of that because he's British, you know? I'll move on to some more news. Oh, DC Comics had a big announcement on making a change to, like, their distribution. So let me talk about that. During the pandemic, a lot of people switched up distribution. Obviously, Diamond Distribution is no longer the monopoly that it once was. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. DC is currently using Lunar, and I've heard good and bad from comic book store owners as to how well Lunar handles things. They also use Diamond in the UK, Diamond UK for European distribution of their comics. This is DC. And they use Penguin Random House for their graphic novels. So they're using 3 different people, but they're adding another one. And the goal here is to shore up their distribution to direct market, like the comic book stores. So they must be responding to feedback from shop owners with this decision. They're going with a company called Universal Distribution. I had never heard of Universal Distribution, actually, which I was surprised about because I have read a bunch of, like, distribution articles and stuff. I've made an episode about the history of distribution. But probably the main reason I hadn't heard about them is that they are based in Canada. They are so far, they've been Canada's main distributor for comics. They've been around for over 30 years. So they're not like a newcomer. They know what they're doing with comics. They distribute comics and related merchandise. And, so they're expanding. And DC is giving them their business here in the States. So hopefully they can adapt and change quickly and, make the most out of that. Obviously I want this to go well for the shop owners. I know that they've been like having headaches getting stuff consistently on time and in good condition. So distribution is a huge, huge aspect of comics. And, we all want it to work well and quickly because we want to get our comic books on time. Diamond is definitely no longer a monopoly. They are definitely no longer a monopoly. Did I start reading Captain Britain yet? Not yet, Joe. Boy, I've got so many things to read. I'd love to, and I hope I can soon. For what it's worth, I'm currently getting told that my stream health has moved to excellent, so hopefully at this point things are smoother for everybody. It was showing as poor for quite a while. I literally heard it get quieter outside, and I saw my metrics switch to excellent. So, that's nice. Thank you for sending that, though, Joe. I do have it actually still right here, nearby, and, Joe had sent me this Captain Britain trade paperback to read. The early Alan Moore, Alan Davis stuff. I love both of those guys. I would love to do an episode on how cool Alan Davis's work is. So I would love to read that, and I will carve out time as soon as I can. I sort of prioritize the weekly comics for doing recommendations for this show, and I have to read stuff for the episodes I'm doing, and then I try to do stuff for myself for fun that could potentially turn into material. So that is in there. Cavill as Mole Man. Yes. You're welcome, Solstice. Thanks for sending in your stuff. I appreciate that. Could definitely see him as Brian Braddock. I feel like he looks the part, but Henry Cavill could play just about any superhero. Thanks for the feedback, all Lucky 7. Thank you, MF. Good. We are getting some smoothness now. Yeah, I think it was buffering for a while. And I could tell in a way because I wasn't getting as much feedback or sort of super chats as I like do on a normal episode. So I could tell that I was like, I'm not delivering the best show for these folks. I'm sorry, but hopefully it gets better from this point forward. I am doing Ethernet, Drew. It is Ethernet. Like I've got a hardwired connection to make sure, because the very first couple streams I did with this were Wi-Fi, and it could drop, and that was just insanely frustrating. I've got some more news to go through. Let's see. I don't mean to spam, but will you do an episode of Pat Mills and Kevin O'Neill's brilliant satire comic Martial Law or draw him here? It's definitely a possibility. I don't have any firm plans to do that right now. I've got a lot of episode ideas right now, but I agree that it's a worthy topic, and it's not a bad idea to draw. The thing I'd be intimidated about if I tried to draw him would be the fact that it's such a distinct style. You know, Kevin O'Neill's work is such a distinct style. It can be tricky to reinterpret that as your own thing. Cavill is Stardust the Super Wizard. Yeah, Cavill is the Wizard. Cavill as Wolverine could work, but I think you ideally do want somebody that's like maybe a little shorter and scrappier. But you know, I'm thinking of Henry Cavill with his mustache as a bit of a bad guy in Mission Impossible. I could see it. You know, I'm sure he could do it. You're not bugging me. I love comic book questions. This is great. Yeah, Alan Davis's work on JLA The Nail. Also, Alan Davis took over writing and drawing Excalibur, and I think he did a great job on that. Alan Davis is one of your top 3 influences. I think that, you know, he's influenced an awful lot of artists. Certainly the big one that's working these days that was influenced, I can't look at Brian Hitch's artwork and not think of Alan Davis. I mean that as a compliment. Here's another piece of news that I thought was cool. Hopefully you guys are into the idea, but let's see. How many of you out there have read comics by Will Eisner? He's pretty awesome. Obviously a hugely influential creator. Lot of great comics. I think that, you know, he definitely should get plenty of credit for stuff like popularizing the term of graphic novel, for good or for ill. In 1978, he released the graphic novel A Contract with God. It's a great book. It really is. Both the stories that it's telling, you know, that are written, but also what he does with the artwork to create it. And specifically, A Contract with God, 1978, focuses on a bunch of different Jewish people living in a tenement in New York City, and just what life is like. He definitely mined from a lot of his own life. It's got some real gravitas to it. Well, there's a company called TEG Plus, and they got the rights to turn it into a Broadway musical and are moving forward with turning A Contract with God into a musical. And I think that the people involved make this sound pretty interesting. Let me acknowledge this super chat. Thank you, Jerfy. Wizard Appreciation Super Chat. They had the Wizard in, was it season 2 of Jessica Jones? It was pretty weird. The cool thing about this is all of the music will be written by Jewish artists. We've got Sam Hollander, Lisa Loeb, Matisyahu, Ryan Miller, and Jill Sobel. Anyway, all that is to say, they've got like the music writers. They still need to get the book writer. That's the person that sort of hangs the songs together with the story and everything like that. But it's a big production company. They've got the rights to it. And comic books have been able to make it into some pretty big budget plays and musicals on Broadway. Fun Home was very successful, obviously. I saw the Spider-Man musical. I don't think it was nearly as bad as the reputation it got. I had a fun time seeing the Spider-Man musical. I did not go in thinking I would have a fun time at it. I went more like with my wife and I. We went on a whim. We were in New York. We were looking for something to pass the time. We saw what tickets were available to a Broadway show that were sort of like affordable and like were like available right now. Spider-Man was. We went and saw Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. We ended up having a really great time. The wire work on that thing was incredible. Video is getting choppy again. Sorry. Speaking of Alan Davis, says DN22, anyone remember his clandestine thing that was spread across several Marvel annuals? I remember picking up a Daredevil annual, seeing Davis's name there, and then was confused. Yeah, well, clandestine was, of course, just a big part of the Miss Marvel show, so I think a lot of us saw that. Yeah, video's getting choppy again. Tell you what, this is obviously not my best stream, so let me do one more piece of news, and then I'll just sort of take a few questions if it's working well enough, and I'll wrap it up. Chopping broccoli. Oh, geez. Yeah, then this isn't doing me any favors. But I want to talk about this. I like the Miracle Man books that Alan Davis and Neil Gaiman wrote. And it's been gone forever, but Miracle Man is coming back. It's coming back soon. October 5th is Miracle Man #0. And that will continue the Neil Gaiman and artist Mark Buckingham story. Awesome. But it's also going to be an anthology with some stories by Ryan Stegman. There's Mike Carey and Paul Davidson. Peach Momoko's doing one. Jason Aaron is teaming up with Leno Francis Yu. And there's one by Ty Templeton. I don't know about you, but I think that this is amazing, that this is actually coming back after all this time. I never would have expected that. So, that's the last piece of news I wanted to do. I think I'll end this show pretty early because of how bad this is going. I'm bummed out because this is my favorite part of the week. I love getting a chance to talk comics with all of you. It literally helps me make my show because the super chats sort of help fund doing the show. And obviously that's just not going to happen if I'm not producing a good show. Did they sing the Spider-Man theme song in the musical? No. 1 minute behind. Woohoo. Mattis Yahoo. Yep. It's all because of the people who are off work today using Wi-Fi. Maybe so, Black Phoenix. I like that theory. The best part of the show was that if a Spider-Man actor landed in your lap, you got to take him home as a souvenir. Thank you, Rob. Yes. Have you seen Aerosmith or Astro City from Kurt Busiek? Not Aerosmith. I've read some of Astro City. I like it very much. That could be a potential episode for the future, no question. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I guess this show's just... I gotta admit, when a show ain't great, that's gonna hurt for like next week, because if people like tune in and see that this is all choppy and stuff, they're not gonna want to tune into another one. So it's better that I don't make it last too long, because nobody wants to watch a show with me just frozen. Otherwise, I might as well just turn it into a podcast. I appreciate that some of you folks have toughed it out. Actually, a lot of you folks have toughed it out. There are a lot of people here, but I don't feel like it's quite working. So I'm going to wrap it up earlier than typical and just say thank you so much for watching. It means a heck of a lot to me. I'm super... The audio is going in and out too. Oh my god. All right, I got to end it then. Yep, nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. I'm really sorry. But keep your eye out for this coming week's comic tropes. I'm doing a deep dive into a very specific type of artwork. I'm also going to be using a lot of examples by Bruno Redondo, who I think is just really an exciting creator that's got a huge, huge future in front of him. Are you going to buy the Miracle Man Omnibus? Well, I have the individual issues, so probably not, unless it has some amazing extra material, Jamil. Yeah, great roster of artists on that Miracle Man book, though. Yeah, my favorite part of the week too. Yeah, if I can't make the show happen, though, it doesn't make sense to keep this going. I'm not gonna time to rip off the Band-Aid. Thank you, folks. Sorry that I couldn't deliver a better show this week. I will be back next week, though. We're gonna have a lot more comics to review. We're gonna have a lot of D23 news to go through, and I'll have some interesting stuff set up for there. Thank you, Andrew Jefferson, for the last minute super chat, and yeah, keep your eye out for this and comic tropes. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Take care. Bye.